Welcome to the True Crime Never Sleeps podcast. I'm your host, Larry Least. On today's episode of Cold Case Friday, we dive into the case of Suzanne Morphew. Before we do that, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Audible, for sponsoring this episode. If you're a fan of audiobooks of any kind of genre, Audible is your place to go. Head on over to audibletrial.com/Larry21 and you can get a free audiobook and free 30-day trial for no money down. And without further ado, let's dive right into today's story. On May 10th, 2020, a Colorado woman, mother of two, went out for a bike ride on Mother's Day and never returned. 49-year-old Suzanne Morphew was reported missing several hours later by a neighbor. An immediate search around her Chaffee County home started. Authorities used scent tracking dogs and drones to cover all areas. After a year of turning every stone on the bike trail and the case, authorities believe they're not dealing with a disappearance anymore, but a homicide. The killer? They believe the husband did it. So what happened to Suzanne Morphew, and why is her husband charged with her suspected murder? Just days after her 49th birthday, Suzanne went missing on Mother's Day 2020 from the $1.7 million Colorado mansion she shared with her husband Barry and their two adult daughters Mallory and Macy. Suzanne was alone that Sunday. Her husband was allegedly 140 miles away in Denver to set up a landscaping job, while her daughters were planning to return from a camping trip to Idaho and spend the day with their mother. It was customary for Suzanne to go on bike rides, but when their daughters couldn't get a hold of her for hours, they asked their neighbor to check up on her. Suzanne was nowhere to be seen, and at around 5:46 p.m. that day, a neighbor filed a missing persons report in the Chaffee County Communications Center. The woman had presumably disappeared in the area on County Road 225 and West Highway 50. Authorities quickly organized a search using drones and dogs, trying to find traces of what might have happened to Suzanne. Barry was notified that his wife was missing, and he came back from Denver in the evening. At first, he was adamant that Suzanne must have been attacked by a wild animal, even though the search dogs never picked up her scent in the woods. The first search came up empty, but the following day, the police were back at the scene looking for clues. And surprisingly, they found a major one. Investigators found Suzanne's bike at the end of a nearby hill, the same spot they had already covered in the previous search. They suspected the bike could have been planted there. There was little damage to the bike, and police never shared whether they found any clues on it or not. 2 days after Suzanne went missing, the store manager in the area said that Barry Morphew had knocked on the window and given her a note. Quote, a baby blue bike helmet and biker's clothing. That was his wife's description, he said, and asked the manager to look out for her. The Poncha Marker store manager was baffled that his quickly scribbled note didn't include any physical description whatsoever, like hair color, height, eye color. By May 14th, Barry's theory of his wife's disappearance had changed from wild animal attack to abduction. He even posted a $100,000 reward to the alleged kidnappers, and a family friend later added another $100,000. A few days later, Barry shared a heartfelt video on Facebook, begging Suzanne's keepers to bring her back, saying, quote, no questions asked. He would do anything to get her back. The video came shortly after police announced that they had discovered an item belonging to Suzanne close to her home. On the same day Barry posted the Facebook video, authorities expanded the investigation and started searching water sites in hopes of finding more clues. They asked residents to keep any video footage they might have between May 8th and May 12th. 9 days after Suzanne went missing, authorities searched the Morphew's home for the first time. Their findings weren't disclosed to the public, but pictures from the scene showed evidence bags were taken from the house. On May 22nd, police organized a search on a nearby riverfront property where Barry had previously completed a landscaping job. The Salida property was 12 miles away from the family home, and authorities dug up a freshly made concrete slab on the site. They didn't find anything underneath and ended the search 2 days later. It seemed like authorities had hit a dead end on the case, and it remained quiet for weeks. In the meantime, neighbors started calling the station, offering more clues about Suzanne and Barry's relationship and her disappearance. That prompted police to search their home again on July 9th. After weeks of speculation and no new leads shared to the public, Barry spoke out. He continued to believe that his wife was either attacked by an animal or had a run-in with someone she knew. By the end of August, however, Suzanne's brother Andrew had already started organizing an independent search of his own. He was gathering volunteers and even started a GoFundMe page to cover the costs of the search. Andrew reportedly believed Barry might have something to do with his sister's disappearance. When police started looking more into Barry, they spoke with his employees to get a sense of the type of person and boss he was. 2 of his employees claimed to have been inside the hotel room Barry used in Denver on the day Suzanne was reported missing. They remembered it smelled strongly of bleach when they entered. There were wet towels everywhere, they said, and it seemed like he hadn't slept in his bed. Andrew's independent search started on September 24th and it included hundreds of volunteers. Just days after it had begun, searchers found a clue they reported to the FBI. The cadaver dogs had picked up a scent on a plot of land owned by the family. A special team was sent on site to search the property, and that's when police stopped sharing their progress on the case, until months later when they arrested Barry. All these months of radio silence from authorities made many believe that the case had gone cold, while in fact, police were using this time to analyze evidence, gather witness reports, and build a case against Suzanne's husband. At some point, their disappearance case turned into a possible homicide. Earlier in May 2021, a year after Suzanne disappeared, authorities arrested Barry. He was charged with first-degree murder, attempting to influence a public servant connected to his wife's case, and tampering with physical evidence. Before his arrest, Barry had put the family's Colorado mansion up for sale. He said his daughters were scared to live in a place where their mother could have been abducted. The home was sold just days before he was arrested. The district attorney said that she is confident Suzanne was murdered, even though authorities haven't been able to find her body. Although Barry had a solid alibi for Mother's Day when he was in Denver, police believe he may have killed Suzanne the day before, on May 9th. Authorities also questioned his need to go to Denver in the first place, since Barry was a volunteer firefighter. He initially said he went to Denver for firefighting training. Turned out, however, there was no training planned for Sunday. All training sessions were postponed due to COVID. That made investigators question the purpose of Barry's trip. That and the reports of his hotel room smelling like bleach. And they began building a different case. Barry and Suzanne tied the knot in 1994, and to many, they were the perfect couple. They were happy and had 2 amazing daughters. Suzanne was a cancer survivor, having overcome Hodgkin's lymphoma twice. The first time was before her daughters were born. The second time was in 2018, right after the family moved to Colorado. At the time of her disappearance, Suzanne had just finished her last cancer treatment and was starting her life anew. During the investigation, it was hinted that Suzanne and Barry may have hit a rough patch in their relationship. Barry allegedly had a darker side to him and wasn't the greatest boss to have. Whether that's grounded in fact or speculation, only those involved can know. And that is all we know for this case. Let us know your thoughts on this case in the comments section below. What do you think happened? Do you think the husband was responsible? Let us know. And of course, you can find us on Good Pods, Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you get your podcast from. Of course, give us a thumbs up if you like our videos, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification button to be notified of future videos. And if you like our content, consider supporting the channel. Buy us a coffee by go to buymeacoffee.com/TCNS. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We will see you next time.